I'm Blue Moon, and in honor of Pride Month, I want to read to you an essay I wrote for my college writing class all the way back in 2020 about asexuality. Don't worry though, I did update it for this video, but if you didn't know, I'm Era Ace, as well as my twin sister, Red Moon. Hello, I'm Red Moon, and the only time I've ever kissed someone was last night when a bug decided to unconsensually kiss me on the mouth as I was asleep, right here. Yeah, anyway. Also, I wrote this whole essay myself. No, you didn't. I wrote it. Don't let it fool you. It was all me. She's gonna help me read, okay? Anyways, I know asexuality has been talked about more recently due to big creators like Jaden Animations, but I just wanted to read my essay specifically because even though big creators have talked about asexuality, it still kind of remains misunderstood and forgotten about at times. I also did a lot of research for the video and learned a thing or two myself, so please sit back and enjoy this deep dive into asexuality, the invisible orientation. Whether they're an actor from a TV show or a movie, a famous singer, or a fellow classmate, I'm sure almost everyone can remember their very first childhood crush. Becoming interested in others of the same or opposite sex is a common occurrence that happens in our youth, as in talking with our friends about who's the hottest or discussing each other's hypothetical dream relationship was. Although topics like these never sparked my interest. It may seem odd in a world so centered around sex and romantic relationships, but believe it or not, I have never had a crush or an attraction to anyone of any gender at all. In fact, I've never fully understood it. I mean, I could admire someone's beauty, like aesthetically speaking, but that's about where my feelings end. Though where I really began feeling disconnected from others was during middle school, when all my classmates started to shift their interests to whoever they wanted to date. At the time, I thought they were the ones acting weird, which I low-key still do, but unfortunately, as I grew older, I realized I was the odd one out in that situation. In a search for an answer to my new realization, I discovered I wasn't alone in feeling this way. It may be surprising to hear, but what if I said there are millions of people in the world just like us? In fact, they all fall under the same umbrella, meaning they all identify as asexual. Someone who does not have any sexual attraction to anyone else. How could this happen? And how could anyone like us identify as asexual when it's basically an unknown orientation to the sexual orientation to the general public? As stated by Carly June and Megan Milks in their journal article, New Orientations, Asexuality, and its Implications for Theory and Practice, how do we begin to contextualize a sexuality that by its very definition undermines perhaps the most fundamental assumptions about human sexuality, that all people experience or should experience sexual desire? Well, for starters, asexuality is just like any other orientation, and people who identify as asexual, or ace for short, have the same emotional needs as everyone else. It's estimated that about 1% of the population or more identify as asexual, so in reality being asexual isn't some strange new phenomenon, and is actually way more common than one would think. To begin, let's review the basics. The asexual spectrum is divided into two parts: sexual orientation and romantic orientation. As stated by Lunice Morris, a writer for Stonewall, most people experience both at the same time, towards the same people. Feeling romantically attracted to someone usually means also being sexually attracted to that person. For those who are ace-identified, and for some bi people, sexual and romantic attachment is not always matched so neatly. The first term under asexuality is aromantic, as stated by the website Queer Events in an article about asexuality. An aromantic person does not experience romantic attraction towards anyone. In other words, they don't really care for holding hands, kissing, or snuggling, or whatever, and usually prefer close friendships or non-romantic relationships. To better illustrate this distinction, let's take a look at my own life. I had a friend who loved romantic and platonic affection. She enjoyed when friends played with her hair. That was the tornado. Exactly like that. She enjoyed when her friends played with their hair, held hands, and snuggled with her while watching TV. Although I'm aromantic and asexual, I usually tried to go along with her antics because honestly, I just wanted to make her happy. In fact, it's not uncommon for aces to engage in romantic or even sexual activities to please their partners. Sadly, in my case, when I did express that I was uncomfortable or just didn't want to, she didn't understand because the idea that someone just didn't want to play with her hair was absurd. What the hell? However, even though this was only a small misunderstanding, it truly shows how being asexual can be overlooked. Even in my scenario, my friend would often call me cold or distant or tell other friends I just didn't like love, which is really weird, and don't worry, we're not friends anymore. Luckily, some asexuals who want a non-romantic or sexual partnership choose to engage in a queer platonic partnership or QPP. PP. sorry. So they don't need to worry about giving into anything that makes them uncomfortable. Besides identifying with the terms aromantic and asexual, other people within the A spectrum identify as gray asexual and gray romantic. People who identify as either gray asexual or romantic do not normally experience attraction, but can occasionally enjoy and desire sex or romantic relationships, though under very limited and specific circumstances.
And for you, it's more about making that intimate connection rather than a like primal drive that you feel?
Right, it's more of an emotional act as opposed to a physical one.
Another similar subunit under asexuality and aromantic is demisexual and demiromantic. This orientation generally encompasses anyone who does not experience attraction to an individual until they form a significant emotional bond with them. Overall, it seems pretty self-explanatory now that the basic information is out of the way. In fact, I believe one of the main reasons asexuality comes off as a made-up orientation is because it's not talked about in schools. This lack of conversation allows stigma and assumptions about asexual people to fill in the gaps.
A common argument used against the aro orientation is that romance and intimacy is what makes someone human.
It's tough to be a god.
For example, asexuality is often not accepted as a genuine sexual orientation because it's sometimes confused with celibacy or abstinence. On top of that, asexuality is also confused with hyposexuality, a diagnosed illness which causes someone to have no sexual feelings for a certain period of time. Even within the LGBTQIA community itself, the A standing for asexual, by the way, asexuals are often subject to gatekeeping or exclusion.
But it seems like you've just never experienced a physical connection, the chemistry, to really want to be with someone on a physical, spiritual level. You haven't encountered that person yet. When you do meet that person, all of this goes out the door.
Can I ask what your sexuality?
When you have loved that person, you felt no physical attraction, no physical desire
No,
to express that love?
not with sex, no.
Oh my God, wow. What happened to you guys?
Those who believe aces should not be included stand by the idea that they do not experience oppression like those who are gay, lesbian, or trans. Which is simply not true, since asexuals do in fact face hate crimes. Such as in early 2015 when Russia passed a law banning, amongst others, people with disorders of sexual preference from obtaining driver's license. Another more everyday oppression is highlighted in an article posted in 2013 by the HuffPost when they did an interview with Julie Decker, an activist for asexual awareness. She spoke of how someone who she considered a friend attempted to corrective RP on her, meaning that he thought he could fix her by having sex with her. Ew!
I mean, that takes a lot of strength to get out of a situation like that, especially when you're constantly being told from every angle that you're in the wrong, that you need to be giving someone something in order to be true to yourself.
Sadly, this phenomenon is very common since almost everyone who identifies as asexual has heard one of these phrases before. Come on, you just haven't met the right person yet, or have sex with me and I can fix you. At least one time in their lives. On a more personal note, even I have experienced these types of assumptions. Once when I was talking to my older sister and her ex-wife about if I'd ever get married, I opened up and said that I'm not interested because I identify as asexual and aromantic, but at the time I simply said I was ace. What I thought would result in an understanding and open conversation quickly shifted to the same behavior I listed above. They said, "You just need to find the right person." And, you know, before I came out as gay, I thought I was also asexual, so figure yourself out. Why are you British? I don't even know if that's British. I couldn't do that in a regular accent. No, it's too painful to say. Don't say that to anybody. In a later conversation with my older sister, she even hinted at the fact that she didn't doubt that Redmond and I had experimented with each other. Ew. Which is the grossest suggestion you can ever make to anybody about their sibling. Like, that's just fucking weird. Sorry, breaking the wall here. Let me go back to reading this. On top of that, she even bet that Red Moon and I are or will be gay just because we dress more masculine, which blows my mind because we literally told them our sexuality. Like, 5 minutes before that. Literally, like, why are they theorizing? You know, like, we told them, like, there's no need for conspiracy theories about this. Fucking weird. Besides disregarding aces when they come out, there's also a stigma that asexual people experience straight privilege, which erases asexuality and the assumption that asexual people are somehow infiltrators of the LGBTQ community. That idea also supports the assumption that everyone is straight unless proven otherwise, which is not true. In my personal opinion, I believe that asexuals should definitely be included in the LGBTQ community, even if their sexual orientation is straight. I mean, transgender straight people are welcome, and people who are bisexual and are dating someone of a different sex belong too. So it really doesn't make sense as why asexuals get singled out for this quality. I mean, how would being ace make you by default straight when you lack the ability to find anyone of any gender sexually attractive? Speaking of straight, on the rare occasion asexuality is represented in media, it's often misrepresented as a straight person needing to be fixed. Telling the narrative that being asexual is undesirable and something, well, a problem that needs to be solved. Yikes. Such as in the case of the TV medical drama House. From what I've read from an article by the website Salon, the main character Dr. Gregory House learns that his colleague has a female patient who identifies as asexual and is married to an asexual man. The problem arises when he bets $100 that he can find a medical reason as to why she doesn't want to have sex. Ew. Through an unethical approach, House manages to run some tests on the husband under the guise that he is administering a flu shot. House finds that the man has a pituitary tumor that is killing his sex drive. After that discovery, the man's wife confesses to just pretending to be asexual in order to make her husband happy. In the end, framing asexuality as a solvable medical condition or a choice, which in turn encourages skepticism on the legitimacy of asexuality. Sadly, misrepresentation is common, as shown in the well-known 2017 TV show Riverdale. How do I say it like that? Yeah, personal vendetta against Riverdale. I kind of do. I've only heard bad things about it, such as this thing. Okay. When one of the show's writers made the decision to turn the character Jughead from asexual to heterosexual, of course this action was met with disapproval and disappointment from those in and out of the community. Teen Vogue even writing, "It's up to shows like Riverdale to provide nuanced representations of their character instead of pushing a narrative that erases asexuality." On the flip side, I found that in my research, because I'm Red Moon, and I wrote this essay. I wrote this essay. No. What I found in my research, less mainstream shows like BoJack Horseman and the YouTube series Hazbin Hotel, for example, do a way better job at representing asexuals. In fact, both of them feature a confirmed ace character. BoJack Horseman even goes so far as to document their character Tad Chavez looking for a relationship while being open about his sexuality. On his journey, he discovers the nuances to looking for a romantic relationship that's not sexual. Todd is even quoted saying, "Even within the 1% of the world that's asexual, there's an even smaller percent that is still looking for romantic companionship," further highlighting the difficulties of being ace in a world that sees sex as the end-all be-all in a relationship. Another great representation of asexual struggles is depicted in a 1-minute clip from the show Sex Education. This scene in particular really resonates with a lot of aces who've seen it, since in just under 2 minutes it manages to perfectly encapsulate how many young asexuals feel before they find out about asexuality. Most people report feeling like something is wrong with them, or that they're broken.
I think I might be broken.
Sex doesn't make us whole. And so, how could you ever be broken?
In the end, erasing her self-hatred and validating other aces that have felt the same way at one point or another. Again, as showcased through the scene in Sex Education, it's not uncommon for aces like myself to feel invisible, especially since asexuality isn't as widely known as other orientations are. So how can we show our pride and let people know, hey, I'm ace, are you ace too? Or hey, I'm ace, do you know what that is? What are some symbols we can throw out in the world to let people know, this is me? Well, this is mine. It's backwards. Well, this is mine. I think it's very funny. Very funny. Ace of Spades. Very funny. Well, here are some other ones that are most likely more widely known than this. For starters, one of the most well-known symbols belonging to the asexual community is the ace flag. This flag features the colors purple, white, gray, and black. The black stripe represents asexuality, the gray stripe representing the gray area between sexual and asexual, the white stripe sexuality, and the purple stripe community. The second most known flag is the aromantic flag, featuring the colors dark green, lime green, white, gray, and black. Originally green, yellow, orange, and black, this new design is most widely accepted and used. The two slightly different shades of green represent the aromantic spectrum, while the white stripe represents platonic love like friendship, the gray and black stripe represents aromantics of all sexual orientations. There's also a flag for ace identifying individuals like myself, and let me just say, it's so pretty. It looks like a sunset, like holy shit, whoever designed that is They really bought them. They really did. Of course, there are separate flags that represent the demi-gray asexuals and romantics, but these two flags are the most utilized and universally known from outside the community. Another well-known ace symbol is the black ring, which when worn in the middle finger of the right hand serves as an indicator that the wearer is asexual. This signifies to mostly those who are ace themselves that the other person is also ace. The black ring works similarly to accessories in the gay or lesbian community, which usually carry a if you know, you know connotation. The last symbol I'll mention is the Ace of Spades. Many members of the ace community often use the card, the Ace of Spades, hearts or clubs to represent which part of the spectrum they're on. The Ace of Hearts represents aromantics, the Ace of Spades represents asexuals, and the Ace of Clubs representing gray asexuals and gray romantics. All in all, these few identifying symbols are almost all that aces need in order to feel pride in themselves and their community. I can personally vouch for these symbols as well, since I found out a fellow coworker was ace just by noticing an asexual flag-colored Ace of Spades pin on their uniform. Personally, seeing little symbols like this can be really exciting, considering the fact that aces are so rare to come by on a day-to-day basis. We're like rare Pokemon. Yeah, we're kind of rare. We're like in the 1%. Not financially, but like orientation-wise, we're in the 1%. Yeah, we're kind of cool. We're like rare unicorns or something. Keep that in your mind. We're like rare PC pools or something. Not to mention how limited asexual representation is in the media compared to those who are gay, straight, or bi. For us aces, seeing a public figure who's open about being asexual is very exciting. So when someone does pop up in the public eye, they're usually very admired and well known amongst the asexual community. Such as the case for Yasmin Benoit, an English model, activist, and writer. She often works to promote the visibility of asexuality, aromanticism, and people of color in the LGBTQ+ community, opening up about her own experience while also educating others.
You barely see asexual people as it is, let alone a black asexual person. I'm a model and asexuality activist, and I am a aromantic asexual.
Yasmin has given talks about asexuality at colleges and is outspoken about her orientation in interviews and on TV. She also worked as a lingerie and alternative goth fashion model, even being the first openly asexual person on the cover of a UK magazine. In regards to being a lingerie model and being ace at the same time, Yasmin has been quoted saying, "I'm literally here to show off the clothes and make it look good. I'm not trying to sell myself, I'm trying to sell a product." On top of that, she also has been outspoken on the topic of asexual inclusion within the LGBTQ community itself, stating, "I may not be the first 4 letters, but I do not relate to the heterosexual experience in the slightest."
It's nothing to do with how you look. That's something I get a lot. People are like, "Oh, but you're good looking. You don't need to be asexual," which usually tells me that people think that A, there's an asexual look and that it isn't a good one, and 2, that asexuality is a choice that people take when they can't get dates or that they can't get laid, which is also really strange. Even in the LGBTQIA community, I find that people tend to cut out the A or think that the A stands for allies. I notice that a lot of the time in organizations or in like the media, people only care about the LGBT part, and even though they put the plus, they don't actually acknowledge the plus.
All in all, making her one of the few people in traditional media giving a voice to the asexual community. Although many creators and artists on social media like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter fill in the gaps that traditional media has failed to address. Together, creating a strong community that works in tandem to start conversations, all the while providing the ace community with much needed support and validation. To end this video essay, we'll leave you with a song that we, amongst many other asexuals, have connected with. The song in question is called Never Been in Love by the YouTube creator and singer Will J. The lyrics of the song express that it's okay to have never been in love before, opposing the idea that falling in love is the true key to, I don't know, eternal happiness or something. Yeah. The upbeat melody and happy vibe of the song just really normalize and, looking at my script, celebrate the feeling that many asexual people feel on a daily basis. Yes. As seen in the lyrics I'm about to sing out loud because I don't want this video to be copyrighted. I'm not missing out, so don't ask me again. So thanks for your concern, but here's the thing. I've never been in love, and it's all good, not the only one. Feeling like they should, and my personal favorite, I don't mean to rain on your happiness, but I'm alone with no loneliness. Bars. Okay, we're done. Obviously we didn't mention every asexual identity in this video, so here's this person's video. They did a good job at summarizing a bunch of them, so go check them out if you want to even deeper dive into asexuality. And if you like us, make sure to check out our 2 TikToks, our Instagram, our Redbubble, our Depop, and our Fiverr. We got a lot going on. And also, I realized this thing going on in my face is not in fact a bug bite. It's a cold sore. I should have known. The yearly cold sore. So I have not yet kissed anybody. Give me an award up here or something. Wow. Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed and hope you found this informational maybe. Happy Pride Month. See ya. Bye.